Welcome to the Clock Tower, I'm Brandon, and today we're looking at an 8-choice Dal deck. It's a deck that I found that would be fun, and I just wanted to put this out here. With that in mind, let's dive right in. This is the 8-choice build. This features the level 1 combo from set 1, the Coterie build. That combo being on attack, reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's a character or the event, My Little Shido, add it to your hand. If not, put it back. So it does not pick up climaxes, but you're able to potentially +2 off the combo. Does get up to 6/5 on attack with CX, not including any additional support. It's a generically fine plus and combo. The potential to pop off really there. Pairing this with the extra booster top end with the Zafkiel Kurmi, the climax combo being at the end of the card's attack, pay 2, pitch 1, to be able to burn equal to the card you choose in your clock's level +1. With that, it does also have a healing ability that triggers at the end of the turn. So the turn you play it, at the end of that turn, you can heal a card from the top of your clock. That way, it allows you to keep your cards in clock to be able to play off of the climax combo, and at the end of the turn, heal. So it's a really interesting effect to be able to potentially heal on the swing into the next deck, even. So you could actually heal down to 3-0 at the end of your turn. So fun little thing there. I think it's a very selective top end. Plus, with some of the pieces we'll look at, you can be able to effectively pick your cards in your clock there to be able to then make that selective damage even more accessible and just kind of play off with that. But let's break it down. Let's break it down from level 0 up. Starting off with the Fearless Smile Kurmi. This is our on reverse Ricky, the ability to be able to, when you become reversed, clock yourself from the top of deck, mill the top 2 cards, and then salvage equal to the level of those cards combined. Which I think is pretty awesome to be able to mill through essentially 3 cards of your deck, one of them into clock, 2 into waiting room, and then salvage a character from there. That doesn't have to be any of those 3 cards. I think it works out really well. It also does not cost any stock to make that happen, so it's an on-reverse +1 to hand with the cost of clocking yourself 1. We also then run the Nightmare Queen Kurmi. This is our traditional on-play Ricky to be able to search out level 1 or lower character. You do clock 1 from waiting room to the bottom of clock, so you get to kind of selective choices what you're going to clock there. You'll notice this being a theme without the deck, being able to effectively pick and choose what cards are in your clock. And playing around that clock theme, right? Because Kurmi plays with time. Fun synergy there. But you're able to get the level 1 or lower character from your deck and pull it out to be able to then turn around and play. Ideally, you're going for your level 1 combo. You really want to spam that level 1 combo over and over again. We also then run Transfer Student Kurmi. I really like this card because I think it's a really fun card to be able to just add cards you want into clock. Because it has the ability of rest itself to be able to choose 2 characters in the waiting room and put them into the bottom of your clock. And at the end of the turn, you put 2 cards from the bottom of your clock back into waiting room. So effectively, you are putting cards into your clock, which then could potentially trigger effects. So, fun card. I like to play around with this card. It also gives a 500 power to global, so you're able to boost up your level 1 combo even more. You could also then choose to put 2 cards from the top of your clock and put them into memory, and then at the end of turn bring them back. That also has some pretty interesting synergies as well. So that's why I really like this card. I really like this ability with this card, and some of the effects that could come off with it. We also then run one of the Shido Itsuka. This is the Blink, where you bounce your opponent's character to memory and back, removing cross-turn effects that way. It also has the ability to pay 1, send itself to waiting room to look at 4, choose 1. So another potential stock out to be able to turn this into a different card in hand. Really useful ability, really useful card. I really like this card, but it is a one of in this list. I also run the Aleph Kurmi. This is the shovel back character, so I can potentially shovel characters back into deck, whether that's to pull them out of or to do other different kinds of effects. Shovel back makes sense to be able to help manage deck state a little bit more. On attack, it also can give power to another character. Useful any point in the game. Run the CX swap. This allows us to be able to change climaxes in hand to pick the climax we need. Also on play, you can reveal climax in hand and minus 500 power to your opponent's board. That is also revealing a lot of information, but realistically, because most of your cards from your level 1 combo are coming from the top of deck anyway, your opponent's already going to basically know your hand. So as much as it's revealing information, I don't think it's revealing too much information, especially at the times when you want to play it. Because realistically, the times you want to play it are the times you're comboing, and at that point you're also going to be like either exchanging your hand or trying to kill your opponent. So the information that they learn from that I don't think is as beneficial to them as it is for you to be able to minus that 500 power and actually like win board. We also run our Feelings Toka and Miku. This is our 3/5 center runner. 3/5 gets that power because of having 5 or more cards in hand, which is usually pretty able to do, especially in 8 choice. Confrontation with Humans Toka, being our last 0 to round us out. This is our effectively double hand filter to be able to either draw into climaxes or to be able to filter out 2 cards in hand that we do not want. It is a pretty effective tool with that, right? Because on play, you can look at the top card of your deck, and if it's a character, add it, and then discard a card from hand. You also can then ditch a character from hand to be able to draw 1. Both of them being on play, right? So you can kind of choose the order of how you want to do things. One of them has to ditch a character from hand. The other one does not, of those 2 abilities. The other one can only draw a character from into hand from the top of deck, and the other one does not have to be just a character. So it's very much kind of playing both sides of that same coin, right? Of trying to do the same kind of effect, but different ways. Either way, you're being able to potentially go through 2 cards off the top of deck into hand. So just another potential filter tool to get cards out of hand you don't want, get cards into hand that you do want, potentially. Notably, this list does not run a brainstorm. You're playing around with clocks so much, you have relatively, really good selection here. So I run the Shido for a little bit of extra mill there. Your combo goes through quite a bit of cards. You also have some cards at level 1 that can help mill through your deck a little bit faster too. Level 1, we have the Reliable Sister Coterie. We already talked about that. We also then run the Difference in Status Kurumi. This is their ability to resonate with our level 3 combo to get a card from our clock into hand and then put a card from hand into clock. So effectively what we can do is we can pair it with that 0, put 2 cards from Waiting Room into clock, and then use this card to get the card we want out of clock into hand, and then put a card we don't want from hand into clock. So it allows us that filter tool of what we're getting off this level 1 combo for effectively free, right? Because it's only just the resonate. So we can just for freely change out the card we want to a card we don't want. So be able to get those 2 cards switched out in place, ready to go. You can also use this to effectively set up our early play condition as well. Get the early play out of hand, put it in the top of clock to then trigger its effect. You can also use this to, at the end game, try to put the cards you want into clock, so that way you can have better selectivity there. Fantastic art profile. It also has the pay 1 clock self from the top of deck to search out the level 3 combo. So we have guaranteed access into our level 3 combo. We now want it in hand to resonate with, so we now have it basically throughout the game ready to go, so we can close out our game against our opponent with it. We also then run the Imperturbable Kurumi. This is the Kome effect, right? When it goes to Waiting Room, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, add a yellow climax to hand, ditch a card. Notably, it's a May effect. You don't have to add the climax to hand to ditch, but that is an option you can do there. Effectively, it's also just kind of free filter again for climaxes. That's really helpful with this card as well. It also has the ability, as an act ability, to send itself to Waiting Room to pump up character 2k power. So effectively, we can use this to help our level 1 combo step over things, and then get the climax for that level 1 combo off of it too. Really useful card in this deck. It also can mill us through 4 cards, right? So we can use this to kind of just burn through cards in our deck to get into that next deck state too if we need. So it does a lot of things for us in this deck. It's a very useful card. We then also run one of the Sensing Danger Yoshino. This allows us to be able to potentially anti-change our opponent starting at 1. So decks like Overlord have to actually be careful against decks like this. When they're trying to bring out that 3/2 early, they actually have to be cautious of this anti-change counter in hand. Especially with that selectivity that we have here, we can effectively get this card ready to go and threaten as early as level 1. We don't run any level 2, but we do run a bunch of level 3s. Starting off at level 3, we run the Kurumi Tokisaki. This is one of our 2 Icy Tails that we run. We only run this as a one of, just because if we have extra stock, that might be a better outlet for this. It's on play heal. It also has the ability of, if you have 2 or more other characters, it gets 1500 power, being a 10/5, and then it can memory kick your opponent's characters, both offensively and defensively, so that's really cool. But it also has the ability of, on attack, you can pay 3, pitch 1, any kind of card, to be able to mill the bottom 5 cards of your opponent's deck, send it to Waiting Room, and then burn for the number of climaxes revealed. Colloquially known as Icy Tail. It gains an additional 2k power from that as well, so it becomes a 12-5 when it does that. This one leans heavily into that stock count to make this happen, but can definitely be worthwhile, especially being a 5-card Icy Tail. Pairing with that, we also have the 4-card Icy Tail, which is the cost being a pay 1, clock yourself a character from Waiting Room to the bottom of your clock to make that happen. The other ability with that card is on play, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, rearrange them in any order, and then potentially bounce one of your opponent's characters. Being able to remove your opponent's troublesome characters, being able to set up a card in clock to enable your endgame combo, exactly what you're looking for off of this card. Notably, it doesn't heal, but it sets up everything else, so you're not as worried about that. We do have the early play Spirit and Black Kermie, 1,000 power for each other backstage character. It's a early play, a 4 or more early play that comes out of your clock on an alarm effect. So you have to have 4 characters on stage to be able to even play this out of your clock. But you can play it out of your clock as a pay 2, pitch 1 from hand, effectively turning any card in hand into the early play. When it comes onto stage, it comes straight from clock, you clock yourself and then heal that immediately off. If you just play this from hand, you don't need to clock yourself, you just heal off. The clocking yourself comes from that ability to put it on stage out of your clock. And the only other card we have not talked about at level 3 is a new story, Kermie and Hibiki. This is our stock swap. It's an additional pay 1 to make that happen. And then it gets an additional 500 power for each other Kermie on stage. Useful card, situational, but for the most part, because you have that kind of selective top end, you can kind of really dive into what you need to do and when and where. So because you have so much selectivity, so much fixing, so much like pieces, parts in play, this deck is very consistent and is very able to do everything you want it to do and more. There's some unique plays with this deck that you can kind of play around different things. You can set up different scenarios. You can also like essentially finesse your deck in the ways you want it to right before refresh, or affect certain timings, or being able to adjust depending on how your opponent's playing or what your opponent's playing. So there are a lot of fun things with this deck and a lot of fun ways to be able to make this deck happen. With that in mind, we'll have some gameplay for this on Thursday, followed up by some more videos coming out very soon. With that in mind, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and until next time, have a good one.